Good afternoon, everyone. Now, in this lesson, I thought of discussing about functions. Now, many students had some issues, some questions regarding the functions, so I thought of doing a lesson on those questions they had. Now, now, what you see here is actually a simple program which has only a main method. Now, if we run this program, now let me save the file first. So I save the file as functions1.cpp, and when I run this, when I compile and run this program, now I'm using div C++, the portable version. Now you can see when I run the program, I get the output. This is the main function, so that is my output. Okay, you can see here clearly that we have a cout statement, and it gives this statement as an output. So that is what we get here. Now, if I want to create a user-defined function, let's say I want to create a function and display a message, some text on the screen. Maybe I want to display this output just after this statement. So what I can do, I have two options. One is, now because these are the questions that students ask me. Now, can we create a function above the main function? That means somewhere here. Yes, you can. Now, for example, if it's a, let's say it's void something like display, and this one also I use std and cout, and here what I do, I use the string. This is the display function. So now we have the second function, which is a display function, is a user defined function, and the function doesn't have a return type. It just performs something. So now I want to call this function. So when I call this function, what I need to do now, I need to display this string just after this string. So I need to place the call in function just after the line number 6. So what I do here, I'll type here, I'll call the function display like this. So now let's run and compile this and see. You can see in the output I get this. So first it calls this is the main function, so it, and then I can see this is the display function. So each functions are called, and I can see the text that is output by the display function, and also I can see the text that output by the line number 6, the cout statement. Now, one of major questions of students is, now can't we create this function just after the main? That means somewhere here. Now you can see we have the main function, so I move the function down. Now first I have the main function, then I have the display function. Now let's see what happens when I run this. So I compile and run, I get an error. Immediately I get an error, and it said display was not declared in this scope. Now the reason here is that when the compiler reads the main function's body, it finds this statement and it cannot identify what this is. It cannot identify what this display function is. That's why it says display was not declared in this scope. The reason is the display function is defined here. You can see here, just after the main, we define the display function. Now, how can we solve this without moving the display function above the main function? Now, that is where the function prototypes are useful. So what you can do, you can enter a function prototype. So the function prototype tells the compiler that there is a function like this in the source code. So what we do, we define the function prototype like this, display, and because this particular function doesn't have any parameters, we can add void here and then the semicolon. Now this is the function prototype. Now when you add the function prototype, now compiler knows that there is a function called display. So even though the compiler reads the statement, before reading this, now the compiler knows, okay, the display is a function, so it'll try to find that function in the source code and read it first, then come here. So that is what happens. So now you can see when I compile and run, I don't get any errors and my program works fine. So this is one of the questions that students had. So I hope I solved the problem and gave you a clear idea about what are function prototypes and how function prototypes can be used in a C++ program.